I never thought I'd hear from my sister Kelly again. Not after 12 years of silence. But there it was, sitting in my mailbox like a fancy white bomb waiting to explode, an engagement party invitation with her name in swirly gold letters. My name's Abigail, and I'm 30 years old. Most days I'm pretty good at pretending I don't have a family, but that Tuesday afternoon when I found that invitation, all the old feelings came rushing back. Kelly's 32 now, I guess. Last time I saw her face to face, I was 18 and storming out of our parents' house for good. I stood there on my porch, turning the invitation over in my hands. Kelly Morgan requests the pleasure of your company at her engagement celebration, it read. The party was at Le Jardin, one of the fanciest restaurants in town. I had to read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Why now? Why me? After all these years of radio silence, why would she suddenly want me at her engagement party? I spent the next few days going back and forth about whether to go. Part of me wanted to tear up the invitation and forget about it. The other part, the stupid, hopeful part, wondered if maybe Kelly had changed. Maybe she wanted to make things right between us. Maybe this was her way of extending an olive branch. The night before the party, I called my Aunt Sarah. She's the only family member I've stayed in touch with all these years. Hey, Aunt Sarah, I got an invitation to Kelly's engagement party. Maybe she wants to reconnect, Abby, people change. I sighed, yeah, maybe, I guess I'll go and see what happens. The next evening, I put on my best dress, a simple black number that I'd bought for business dinners, and drove to Le Jardin. The restaurant was even fancier than I'd imagined, with valet parking and a doorman in a crisp uniform. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in white linen. I approached the reception desk where a woman in a sleek blazer smiled at me. Good evening, I'm here for the Morgan engagement party. My name is Abigail Morgan. She ran her finger down a list, frowned, then checked again. I'm sorry, but I don't see your name on the guest list. My stomach dropped. Before I could respond, I heard a familiar voice behind me. What are you doing here? I turned to see Kelly, looking exactly like I remembered but more polished. Designer dress, perfect makeup, not a hair out of place. You invited me, I said, holding up the invitation. Kelly laughed, but it wasn't a nice laugh. How could you even think I'd invite you to a place like this? Look around, Abigail, these are respected, important people. You don't belong here. The receptionist shifted uncomfortably, pretending to organize some papers. Kelly, you sent me an invitation. Why would you do that if you didn't want me here? To show you what you're missing, she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. To show you where I am in life and where you are. Now please leave before you embarrass yourself further. I saw our parents walk by, dressed to the nines. Mom glanced at me and gave a little wave, like I was some distant acquaintance, then kept walking. Dad didn't even look my way. Something inside me went cold and quiet. I turned and walked out, keeping my head high until I reached my car. Only when I was safely inside with the doors locked did I let myself feel the hurt. But honestly, I wasn't that surprised. As I drove home, I thought about how naive I'd been to think Kelly might have changed. People like her and our parents, they don't change. Not after 12 years, not after 100. Memories started flooding back. Growing up, everything had always been about Kelly. She got the best toys, the newest gadgets, unlimited TV, and computer time. I got 2 hours a day, max. She could have friends over whenever she wanted. I wasn't allowed to bring anyone home. The worst part was how she'd blame me for everything. If she broke something, she'd tell our parents I did it. And they always believed her. I spent half my childhood grounded for things I never did. I remembered the day everything fell apart. I was 18, looking through college brochures at the kitchen table. Kelly had already been in college for 2 years but was still living at home. You're actually thinking about college, she'd asked, peering over my shoulder. Please, you're not smart enough for college. My GPA is higher than yours ever was, I shot back. And Mom and Dad already said they'd help with tuition. Her eyes had narrowed. We'll see about that. The next day, our parents sat me down for a talk. Kelly had gotten an amazing opportunity, training and internship in Europe. They needed to support her dream. The money they'd saved for my college? It was going to Kelly instead. You don't really need college, Abigail, Mom had said. Kelly's opportunity is once in a lifetime. That's when I lost it. I accused Kelly of setting the whole thing up, told my parents they were betraying me, said things I can't even remember now. Then I packed a bag and left. I crashed with my friend Emma for 2 months, got a job waiting tables, and worked my butt off. When the acceptance letters came, I chose the only school that offered a full scholarship. 12 years later, here I was, driving home from Kelly's fancy party where I wasn't even allowed past the reception desk. But you know what? I'd built a good life without them. And maybe it was better this way. The next morning, Sunday, I was still in my pajamas, nursing a cup of coffee when my phone rang. Aunt Sarah. Abby, honey, I just got back from Kelly's party. Why weren't you there? I saw you at the reception desk when I arrived. I sighed, because Kelly didn't actually want me there. She sent me an invitation just to show off. When I got there, my name wasn't on the guest list. Kelly told me I didn't belong in a place like that with respected and important people. Oh, Abby, that's terrible, I'm so sorry. It's okay, I should have known better. Listen, Aunt Sarah hesitated, I probably shouldn't ask this, but why didn't you tell her? You're not a waitress anymore. Why let her think she's so much better than you? I smiled. Aunt Sarah always knew more than she let on. Because Kelly and my parents don't need to know anything about my life right now. And honestly? After last night, I'm glad I didn't say anything. Fair enough, I won't tell them either. But Abby, don't let them make you feel small. You've done amazing things. After we hung up, I spent the rest of Sunday organizing my week. I had several meetings scheduled, new properties to evaluate, and 2 major events coming up that needed my personal attention. Monday morning, I walked into my office building, a restored Victorian house in the business district that I'd bought and renovated 3 years ago. The reception area was bright and welcoming, with photos of our venues on the walls. My office was on the 2nd floor, overlooking the street. I'd worked hard for this, every contract, every renovation, every late night handling crisis management when the catering was late or the flowers were wrong. My company, Morgan Event Spaces, had started small. Really small. During college, I'd worked as a waitress to pay for books and food while my scholarship covered tuition. After graduation, I got a job as an office manager at a marketing firm. It wasn't glamorous, but I saved every penny. Then 3 friends and I had pooled our money to rent a rundown space on the edge of town. We spent our nights and weekends painting, cleaning, and decorating. Our first booking was for a kid's birthday party. We made $50. But we kept going. Every profit went back into the business. When my friends eventually moved on to other things, I bought out their shares. Then I saved enough to buy my first property, a small hall that needed serious work but had good bones. The breakthrough came 3 years ago. The city was selling a historic neo-Gothic building that had been damaged in a fire. Everyone else saw a money pit. I saw potential. I bid everything I had, got the property, and then spent 6 months living on ramen noodles while every spare dollar went into restoration. Now that building, the Blackstone House, was the crown jewel of my business. With its original brick walls, soaring ceilings, and intricate architectural details, it had become the most sought-after wedding venue in the city. We booked events there a year in advance. I own 6 properties now, and managed 3 more for other owners. We handled everything from intimate dinner parties to major corporate events. Last year, the mayor's daughter got married at the Blackstone. The year before, a Hollywood studio filmed scenes for a TV show there. That afternoon, I was reviewing the week's bookings when Maria, my office manager, buzzed my office. Abby, you need to see this new inquiry. It's from a Kelly Morgan. My heart stopped for a second, forward it to me. I opened the email. Sure enough, there was Kelly, requesting quotes for several of our venues for her wedding. But what caught my eye was her top choice, the Blackstone house. I sat back in my chair, thinking. The Blackstone was booked solid for the next 8 months, with a waiting list a mile long. But I had a cancellation for a date that would work with Kelly's timeline. The bride had gotten cold feet and called off the wedding. An idea formed in my mind. Maybe it was petty, but after Saturday night, I didn't really care. Maria, I called, see this inquiry from Kelly Morgan? I want you to decline all her requests for our other properties. But for the Blackstone. I smiled, tell her we might have an unexpected opening. Ask if she's willing to wait a couple months for confirmation. 2 hours later, Maria forwarded Kelly's response. She was definitely interested. The Blackstone house was exactly what she wanted for her wedding. She'd wait as long as necessary. Perfect. Over the next few weeks, I had Maria string Kelly along with carefully worded emails. Yes, the date was looking promising. Yes, we were working out the details with the previous booking. No, we couldn't confirm quite yet. Meanwhile, I handled my actual business. Spring was our busy season, and I had 3 weddings every weekend plus corporate events during the week. Finally, a month before Kelly's wedding date, I had Maria send the email I'd been planning. Dear Ms. Morgan, we're pleased to inform you that the Blackstone house has become available for your requested date. However, before we can finalize the booking, our owner requires an in-person meeting to discuss the details. Please let us know when you can visit the property. Kelly's response was almost instant. She could come tomorrow. I smiled and started planning. This was going to be interesting. The next day, I arrived at the Blackstone house an hour early. I wanted everything to be perfect for this meeting. The morning sun streamed through the restored stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the original hardwood floors. At exactly 2 o'clock, I heard voices in the entrance hall. Kelly's voice, loud and demanding, my mother's softer tone, my father's deep rumble. And another male voice I didn't recognize, probably Kelly's fiancé. I stood by the windows overlooking the gardens, my back to the door. I heard their footsteps entering the ballroom. Oh my God, this place is incredible, Kelly exclaimed. This is exactly what I wanted for my wedding. It's quite impressive, my mother agreed, though rather expensive, I imagine. Worth every penny, Kelly said. Brett, honey, look at these ceilings. I turned around slowly. I'm glad you like it. The look on their faces was priceless. Kelly's mouth dropped open, my mother went pale, my father just stared. Abigail, my mother finally managed, what are you doing here? Kelly recovered first, letting out a harsh laugh. Oh, I get it. You're following me around now? First my engagement party, now this? Stalker much? I'm not following you, Kelly, I'm here for work. Right, she sneered, let me guess, you're here to clean up before my wedding? In a manner of speaking, yes, I am here to clean up. To clean this room of people who don't belong here. This building, the Blackstone house, is my property, I own it. The silence that followed was deafening. Kelly's face went through several expressions, disbelief, confusion, and finally, anger. That's impossible, she said, you're lying. I pulled out my phone and showed them my business license. Morgan Event Spaces. Founded 7 years ago. 6 properties owned, 3 managed. The Blackstone house is our premium venue. But we thought you were still working as a waitress, my mother stammered. If you'd been interested in my life at all, you'd know I haven't been a waitress since college. But you never asked, did you? Kelly's hands clenched into fists. This doesn't matter, we're customers, you have to rent to us. Actually, I don't, and I won't. You can't do this, Kelly's voice rose to a shriek. My wedding is in a month. I've already sent out invitations with this address. That's not my problem, you made it very clear at your engagement party that I don't belong in fancy places with important people. Well, this is my fancy place, and I decide who belongs here. My mother stepped forward. Abigail, please, we're family. Surely you can make an exception? We'll pay full price, maybe even a little extra? I almost laughed. Family? Where was family when you gave away my college money? Where was family when you believed every lie Kelly told about me? Where was family last Saturday when you walked right past me at that restaurant? That's all in the past, my father said. Can't we move forward? We are moving forward, without each other. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have real clients to attend to. Wait, Kelly grabbed my arm. What about my other venue requests? There were 2 other places I asked about. Riverside Hall and the Watson Estate? I own those too. Kelly's face turned red. You did this on purpose. You're trying to ruin my wedding. No, Kelly, I'm running my business. You're the one who chose to apply to my properties. Not my fault you didn't do your research. I'll destroy you, she screamed. I'll tell everyone what a horrible person you are. I'll write reviews, post on social media. Go ahead, I said calmly. My clients include the mayor, several city council members, and most of the prominent families in town. Last month, a Hollywood production company filmed here. But sure, write your reviews. That evening, my phone started blowing up. Kelly had indeed taken to social media. Her post was a masterpiece of manipulation. My own sister is trying to destroy my wedding. She owns venues and is refusing to rent to me out of pure jealousy and spite. Family means nothing to her. All she cares about is money. But the comments weren't going the way Kelly expected. Wait, Abigail owns the Blackstone house? That's amazing. How did we not know this? She's so successful. Does anyone have her business contact? I'd been trying to book the Blackstone for months. I watched as distant relatives and old family friends expressed surprise and admiration. Some asked why they hadn't been told about my success. Others wondered what had happened between us sisters. Finally, I decided to comment. For those asking about Morgan Event Spaces, please visit our website. Our senior manager, Christine, handles all bookings. We have several beautiful venues available. Within minutes, that comment had more likes than Kelly's original post. People started sharing my business website. An hour later, Kelly deleted the entire post. Aunt Sarah called that night. I saw Kelly's social media drama. I heard she's scrambling to find a venue now. Everything in town is booked. She'll have to look outside the city, not ideal, but she'll manage. You know what I'm thinking, Aunt Sarah said. We should have a family reunion. For all the relatives Kelly's not inviting to her scaled-down wedding. I smiled. That's a great idea. And I happen to have the perfect venue. The Blackstone house? The Blackstone house, same day as Kelly's wedding. What do you think? Aunt Sarah laughed. I think it's perfect. I'll start making calls. The next morning, Maria reported a flood of inquiries from people who'd seen Kelly's post. 3 new bookings by lunch. Sometimes the best advertising comes from unexpected places. A week later, I got an email from Brett, Kelly's fiancé. Ms. Morgan, I apologize for what happened at the Blackstone house. I had no idea about your family history. Kelly never mentioned having a sister until recently. I want you to know that I respect your decision. Best wishes, Brett. I stared at the email for a long time. Kelly had never mentioned having a sister. That's how thoroughly she'd erased me from her life. Well, 2 could play that game. As I prepared for the family reunion Aunt Sarah was organizing, I realized something important. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their acknowledgement or their apologies. I had built something amazing without them. The Blackstone house, my other properties, my business, all of it was mine. I had earned every bit of my success. The day of Kelly's wedding arrived, and it was perfect. Clear blue skies, gentle breeze, ideal temperature. The kind of day every bride dreams about. Of course, Kelly wasn't getting married in town. Aunt Sarah had filled me in on all the details. After being shut out of every decent venue in the city, Kelly had been forced to book a place called Meadowbrook Farms, 45 minutes outside town. She had to arrange shuttle buses for the guests, Aunt Sarah told me over coffee that morning. And the catering has to come from the city because there aren't any good restaurants near the venue. Half her guest list got cut to stay within budget. Our family reunion was scheduled to start at 6, the same time as Kelly's reception. Aunt Sarah had outdone herself with the guest list. Cousins I hadn't seen in years, great-aunts and uncles, family friends who remembered me as a child. All the people Kelly had cut from her wedding to save money. At 5:30, I stood in the Blackstone's grand ballroom, making sure everything was perfect. The tables were set with crisp white linens and centerpieces of fresh flowers. Soft lighting made the restored architectural details glow. Through the windows, the gardens were lit with strings of lights. The first guests started arriving right on time. Cousin Pete, who I used to play with at family barbecues. Great-Aunt Helen with her signature red lipstick. Uncle George and Aunt Marie. Abigail, Aunt Marie hugged me tight. We had no idea this was your place. It's absolutely stunning. When did all this happen? Uncle George asked, looking around in amazement. Last we heard, you were in college. It's been a few years, I said. How have you both been? As more relatives arrived, I heard the same questions over and over. Where had I been? Why hadn't anyone told them about my success? What had happened between me and Kelly? I kept my answers simple and polite. Yes, I'd built this business myself. No, I hadn't been in touch with my parents or Kelly. Yes, it was unfortunate we'd grown apart. Then Cousin Rachel arrived. She was one of the relatives Kelly had specifically uninvited from the wedding. Can you believe it? Rachel said, hugging me. She actually called me last week and said she had to adjust the guest list due to venue constraints. After I'd already bought a dress. The party was in full swing when my phone buzzed. A text from Aunt Sarah, check Facebook. I opened the app and found a post from one of Kelly's bridesmaids who was at the wedding. Beautiful ceremony, but the reception venue is interesting, very rustic. And apparently the buses are running late, so half the guests are still waiting for rides. The bride is not happy. I put my phone away and went back to my guests. Around 9 o'clock, my phone rang. Kelly. I stepped into my office to take the call. You did this on purpose, she screamed before I could even say hello. You planned this whole thing to ruin my wedding. I don't know what you're talking about. The family reunion, the same night as my wedding. At the Blackstone house. Everyone's there instead of here. Kelly, you chose to uninvite half the family. I'm just hosting the people you didn't want at your wedding. This is so typical of you, you've always been jealous of me. Is that why you took my college money? Because I was jealous? She hung up. I went back to the party. Aunt Sarah was telling stories about our grandmother. Cousin Pete was teaching his kids to waltz. Great-Aunt Helen was holding court at a corner table, regaling anyone who'd listen with family gossip. There you are, Aunt Sarah called out, come here, we're doing toasts. Someone handed me a glass of champagne. To Abigail, Aunt Sarah said, raising her glass. Who built something amazing from nothing? Who showed us all that family isn't always about blood, it's about the people who support you. And who throws one hell of a party? Everyone cheered and drank. I felt tears in my eyes but blinked them back. After the last guest left, I sat alone in my office, looking out at the city lights. My phone had several missed calls from my parents and Kelly, but I didn't feel like listening to the voicemails. Aunt Sarah knocked on my door. Mind if I come in? Not at all. She sat down across from me. How are you feeling? Honestly? Pretty good, tired, but good. You know what I heard tonight? Kelly's wedding ran out of food because the caterer got the numbers wrong. And apparently one of the shuttle buses broke down completely. I couldn't help but laugh. That's terrible. Is it though? Aunt Sarah winked. Karma has interesting timing sometimes. I suppose it does. Abby, can I tell you something? Your parents and Kelly, they missed out. They missed watching you become this incredible person. They missed seeing you build something amazing. That's their loss, not yours. I nodded, feeling the truth of her words. And all those relatives tonight? They see you now, they see what you've accomplished. And they're impressed as hell. After Aunt Sarah left, I did one final walkthrough of the Blackstone house. Everything was quiet now, but the building still held the warmth of the evening's celebration. My first event here had been nerve-wracking. What if no one showed up? What if something went wrong? What if I failed? But I hadn't failed, I'd built something real, something valuable. Not just a business, but a place where people could celebrate the important moments in their lives. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Brett, Kelly's new husband, heard about your event tonight. Sounds like it was amazing. Sorry we couldn't work things out. Best wishes for your continued success. I smiled and put my phone away. Tomorrow there would be more events to plan, more clients to meet, more dreams to help create. But tonight, I was exactly where I belonged. The next morning, I got a call from a reporter from the local business journal. Someone at the reunion had mentioned my story, and they wanted to do a feature on successful woman-owned businesses in the area. I'd love to, I told her. As I drove to work, I thought about how different my life was from what I'd imagined at 18, angry and hurt, leaving my parents' house with just a suitcase and my dreams. I'd lost my family, but I'd built something better. I'd created my own success, on my own terms. And along the way, I'd discovered that family isn't always the one you're born into. Sometimes, family is the people who show up when it matters. Who celebrate your successes. Who see your worth even when others don't.